Hello everyone, I hope you're having a wonderful day. In today's episode, we're stepping into one of the most emotional milestones in Jack and Tu Tien's journey. After 9 long months and 10 days of waiting, a simple breakfast in front of their house suddenly turns into a race against time when Tu Tien is hit with intense labor pains and rushed to the hospital. And after nearly 5 hours outside the delivery room, Jack finally hears the words he's been praying for. It's a healthy baby girl. How did those tense hours unfold? And what was Jack's reaction the moment he saw his daughter and wife safe in the recovery room? If you enjoy this story, don't forget to hit subscribe so you won't miss the next videos. Morning breaks soft and pale over the little farmhouse, like the world itself is holding its breath. Tu Tien stands at the kitchen counter, moving slower than she used to, one hand automatically resting at the curve of her 9-month belly. The calendar on the wall is already marked with a bright red circle. 40 weeks, 9 months, 10 days. Any time now. Jack leans in the doorway, just watching her for a moment. "Hey," he says. "Chef, you sure you don't want to sit down and let your assistant handle this?" She glances over her shoulder, smirking. "My assistant burns toast." "That happened one time," he protests, "and it was experimental toast." She laughs, but even the laugh is careful now. She turns back to the stove, flipping the omelette as gently as if it's made of glass. "You sit," she says. "If I don't do at least one normal thing this morning, my brain will explode." Jack crosses the room anyway, hovering behind her. "Normal is me panicking and you pretending everything's fine," he says. "We're very consistent." On the table, breakfast is already half set. Warm porridge with shredded chicken, sliced fruit, the herbal tea Mother Ly insists is good for the baby's bones. The whole house smells like ginger and rice and something new on the horizon. Tu Tien carries the pan over, slowly, carefully. Jack rushes to grab the plate from her. "I said I've got it," he reminds her. 9 months, 10 days, you're on VIP status now." She rolls her eyes but lets him take it. They sit facing the front door like they're waiting for someone important to arrive. "Sleep okay?" he asks. "Barely," she admits. "Someone inside thought 3 a.m. was dance practice time." Jack leans forward and speaks to her belly. "Kid, we talked about this. Night is for resting. Day is for torturing your parents." The baby answers with a small kick. Tu Tien winces, then smiles. "See," she says, "already listens to you," and argues at the same time. They start eating. For a few minutes, it's almost peaceful. Jack talks about small things on purpose, the tomatoes starting to ripen, the neighbor's dog who keeps trying to sneak into their yard, the list of things still in the hospital bag by the door. "You checked the bag again this morning?" she asks, raising an eyebrow. "Only 3 times, he replies. "It's part of my niche now, professional overchecker." "You know we might still have days," she says, carefully spooning porridge. "Not every baby comes right on schedule." He nods. "I know," he says, "but if you even sneeze weird today, I'm taking you to the hospital." She snorts. "If I sneeze weird, it'll just be my back complaining." He's about to joke back when her hand suddenly clamps around her spoon. Her face changes. The spoon clinks against the bowl. She grips the edge of the table with her other hand, head bowed, breath pulling in sharply. "Tu?" Jack says immediately. "What is it?" For a second she doesn't answer. Her whole body tightens, eyes shut. Then she exhales slowly, opens her eyes and forces a small smile. "Maybe? Just a Braxton Hicks," she says. "Fake practice." "It'll pass." Jack's heart rate has already doubled. On a scale from 1 to 10, she grimaces. 7? That's not fake, he says. Before they can argue, another wave hits. This one is deeper, rising from her lower back and wrapping around her belly like a steel band. She gasps, hand flying instinctively to her stomach, the other gripping his wrist. Okay, she pants. Okay, that one was real. He's out of his chair in a heartbeat. Hospital, he says. Now. The contractions have to be regular, she says between breaths, still trying to sound calm. We should time... A third one slams through before she finishes. Her spoon tips, porridge sliding unnoticed across the tablecloth. That decides it. No more timing, Jack says, already moving. We're going. He grabs the hospital bag from its place by the door, checks it in one quick motion out of habit. Documents, clothes, baby blankets, snacks, chargers. He shrugs on his jacket, then rushes back to her side. Can you stand? He asks. She nods, jaw tight. Help me. He slides an arm around her shoulders, another under her elbow. She rises slowly, breathing in the way the doctor taught her. In through the nose, out through the mouth, counting. Mother Ly pokes her head in from the yard, carrying a basket of herbs. What's happening? She asks, eyes narrowing. Jack meets her gaze. I think it's time. The basket thumps onto the floor untouched. Mother Ly drops everything and comes over, her hands suddenly steady. Breathe, she tells Tu Tien. We're not panicking. We've waited 9 months. We can handle one car ride. Speak for yourself, Jack mutters, already leading Tu toward the door. Outside, the morning looks perfectly ordinary. The sky is clear, chickens scratch near the fence. The neighbor's radio plays some old song. But for them, the whole world has narrowed to the distance between the front door and the car. They ease her into the passenger seat. Jack buckles the belt low under her belly, just like the pamphlet said. Call the hospital, Tu Tien says through clenched teeth. Tell them we're coming. Mother Ly is already dialing. They're expecting you, she says. Drive. I'll follow on the motorbike. Jack starts the engine. As they pull away from the farmhouse, another contraction grips her. She squeezes his hand so hard he almost can't feel his fingers. Just look at me, he says, eyes flicking between the road and her face. We've got this. We didn't come this far to stop now. She focuses on his voice, on the rhythm of his words. In, out, count, release. The road to the hospital is the same one they've taken so many times before, for stitches, for checkups, for terrible nights when they weren't sure they'd make it. Today it feels different. Today they're not running from something, they're racing towards someone. By the time they reach the hospital gate, her contractions are coming faster, closer, teeth clenched. Through the pain, Jack leaps out, waves down the staff, and in minutes she's being wheeled inside, one hand still reaching for him. He doesn't let go, not even for a second. The maternity ward is bright and too clean, the air sharp with antiseptic. Nurses take over as soon as the wheelchair rolls in. Deep breaths, Mum, one of them says. How far apart? 2, 3 minutes, Tu Tien groans. Feels like no time. Good, baby's on the way. They push her toward the labor room. Jack jogs beside the bed, one hand on the rail, the other gripping hers. I'm right here, he repeats. You're not alone. At the labor room door, a midwife blocks him gently. Dad waits outside, she says. We'll call you if she needs you. I promised. You being calm out here is helping her more than you think, the midwife says. Trust us. On the bed, Tu Tien reaches for him, sweat already on her forehead. Go sit with Mom, she pants. Don't fight the staff. Save that energy for later. He leans down, kisses her damp forehead. I love you, he whispers. Both of you. I'll be right outside. Then the door closes, swallowing her. For a second, he just stands there, staring at the small window, hearing muffled voices, the rustle of gowns. Jack! Mother Loy arrives, slightly out of breath, hair wind-tousled. They took her in? He nods. Contractions are close. They say baby's on the way. That's good, she says firmly. Now we wait. They sit on hard plastic chairs outside the labor room. Time stretches. 5 minutes feel like an hour. Through the tiny glass pane, Jack sees shadows moving and curtains shifting. Sometimes he hears her voice rise in pain, and his own hands clench in response. You did this to her, he mutters at one point, half joking, half guilty. Mother Loy snorts. No, you two did this together, she corrects, and you'll both be grateful when you see that child's face. What if something goes wrong? He asks quietly. What if we lose them now after everything? She looks straight ahead. We've lived with what if long enough, she says. Right now, the truth is, your wife is strong. The doctors know what they're doing, and that baby's already proved it doesn't give up easily. A midwife slips out to grab supplies. Jack jumps up. How is she? He blurts. Focused, the woman says with a tired smile. Baby's heart is strong. First births take time. Breathe, Dad, you're not the one pushing. He laughs despite himself and sits back down. Minutes blur into hours. Jack paces the corridor, counts tiles, drinks bad coffee he barely tastes. Mother Loy murmurs quiet prayers, fingers worrying a small cloth handkerchief. 5 years ago, Jack says suddenly, voice low, I didn't know if I'd ever clear my name, didn't know if I'd have a family. And now, she asks. Now she's in there bringing our child into the world, he replies, eyes shining. I've never been so terrified, or so grateful. She pats his shoulder. That sounds like a father to me. Nearly 5 hours crawl by. Then a new sound cuts through the muffled noise behind the door. A thin, sharp cry, high, furious, and very much alive. Jack's head snaps up. Mother Loy is already on her feet. That, she says, voice trembling, is your baby. The door opens. A doctor steps out, mask pulled down, eyes edged with exhaustion, but smiling. Congratulations, she says. It's a girl. Both mother and baby are safe. For a moment, Jack just stares, absorbing every word. A girl? He echoes. The doctor nods. A healthy baby girl. Good weight, strong lungs, you probably heard. She made sure the whole floor knows she's here. Something breaks loose inside him. He lets out a laugh that's half sob. Can I see them? He asks. In a few minutes, the doctor replies. We're finishing with your wife. The baby's in the nursery for checks. You can look at her through the glass. She turns to Mother Loy. Your daughter did well, she adds. She's tired, but she's okay. They follow a nurse down the hallway to the nursery. Behind the big window, rows of tiny beds line up under soft light. Jack scans them frantically. There, the nurse says, pointing. Pink blanket, name tag Nguyen. He sees her, so small. A round little face, nose like a dot, cheeks soft and full. Wisps of dark hair cling to her head. Her fists are raised beside her ears like a tiny boxer. Her chest rises and falls fast, determined. That's her? He whispers. That's yours, the nurse says. She's strong. He presses his palm lightly to the glass. Hey, he murmurs. I'm your dad. Your mum did all the hard work. I just panicked over bags and traffic. You already turned our world upside down and you're not even an hour old. The baby yawns, mouth a tiny O, then settles again. Jack laughs through the tears on his face. A short while later, they wheel Tu Tien into a recovery room. She looks pale, drained, hair plastered to her temples, but when her eyes find his, they light up. "Jack," she croaks. He's at her side in 2 steps, careful not to jostle anything. "You did it," he says, voice shaking. "She's beautiful and so loud, definitely ours." "Loud?" She manages a weak chuckle. "So she got that from you." A nurse appears, carrying a small bundle wrapped in soft pink. "Ready to meet your daughter properly?" she asks. Very gently, she settles the baby into Tu Tien's arms. The room shrinks to the bed. The baby blinks, lips puckering. Her tiny fingers curl and uncurl against the blanket. When Jack leans in, he can hear her breathing, quick and light. "Hello, little one," Tu Tien whispers, tears spilling freely now. "We've been waiting a long time." Jack sits on the edge of the bed, one arm around Tu Tien's shoulders, the other hand resting lightly over the baby. He takes in every detail, the little crease in her chin, the fuzz of hair, the way she instinctively nuzzles closer to her mother's chest. "What should we call her?" he asks softly. "We'll decide when my brain works again," Tu Tien says, smiling weakly. "For now, she's just our miracle." Mother Ly steps closer, covering her mouth with one hand. "My granddaughter," she whispers. "Finally." In this small recovery room with white walls and humming machines, all the noise of the past, accidents, accusations, near-miss tragedies, feels very far away. Right now, there is only this. A woman who fought to stay alive, a man who refused to let go, and a chubby baby girl who has no idea how much darkness tried to stop her from being born. She only knows warmth, a heartbeat, and the sound of 2 voices promising without words that from this moment on they will do everything in their power to keep her safe. After 9 long months and 10 anxious extra days, Jack and Tu Tien start the morning like any other, sharing a quiet breakfast in front of their house. But sudden, intense cramps cut through their conversation, and Jack realizes this isn't practice anymore. Real labor has begun. He rushes Tu Tien to the hospital, where she's taken into the delivery room while he and Mother Ly wait outside, counting every minute and flinching at every sound. Nearly 5 exhausting hours later, a newborn cry pierces the corridor, and the doctor steps out with the words they've dreamed of. Mother and baby are safe, and it's a healthy little girl. Overwhelmed with relief, Jack sees his chubby daughter through the nursery glass, then finally holds both wife and child in the recovery room as 3 generations celebrate their long-awaited miracle.